a Rabbinic Anthology selected by C.G. Montefiore and H.Loewe. I am the Lord your God, who brought you forth from Egypt. We continue 452. Remember that Lord is usually a replacement for God as a verb and noun. Did you, he said to the angels, go down to Egypt? Were you enslaved by Pharaoh? What need have you of the law? It is written, ye shall have no other gods. Do you dwell among the uncircumcised who practice idolatry? It says, remember the Sabbath day. Do you do any work so that you need a day of rest? Words left out. It says, honor thy father and mother. Have you any fathers and mothers? It says, do no murder. Do not steal or commit adultery. Is there any envy? Is there any evil inclination among you? Then they praised God and became the friends of Moses. Sab 88b, 89a, and there are plenty of passages that talk about, oh, these people didn't have surgery. But here it's qualified that they're polytheists too. Because there are those that don't undergo ritual genital mutilation that are also monotheist, or at least monotheistic. 453, Pass R, 95a. When God gave the Torah to Israel, the earth rejoiced and the heavens wept. Why was this? It is like a king who celebrated the marriage of his daughter. The men of the cities did not attend the feast or give praise, but the villagers came singing praises and songs with many musical instruments. The king's herald came forth and spoke. It is customary for the men of the cities to know how to honor the king. Would it not have been right for them to praise the king's daughter? So it was when God gave the Torah to Israel. Earth gave praise, but the heavens were silent. God said to the heavens, you whose place is above should have given praise to my glory and to my daughter, even more than the earth has done. They said, sovereign of the universe, the earth may well give praise, since it is to her that the Torah has been given. But we, from whom the Torah goes forth, how can we give praise and not be grieved? Note 51, Pes R 95a. 454, Tanch Bereshit, Section 1, Folio 6b. God created the world by the Torah, and the Torah was his handmaid, and his tool by the aid of which he set bounds to the deep, assigned their functions to sun and moon, and formed all nature. Without Torah, the world falls. So sang the sons of Korah, Arch. The earth and all the inhabitants thereof would be dissolved, did I not bear up the pillars. Psalm 75, verse 3, the Torah is God's handmaid, whom Moses was saintly enough to receive. For as for the Torah, humility is her imprint, and God-fearingness is her crown, as it says, the end of humility is the fear of the Lord, Proverbs 22:4, and the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, Psalm 111:10. These two gifts were combined in Moses, who was exceedingly humble, Numbers 12:3, and who feared to behold God, Exodus 3:6. Hence, for 3 acts of humility, he was accorded to 3 marks of distinction, because he hid his face shone, Exodus 34:29. Because he feared to approach God, the people feared to approach him, Exodus 34:30. Because he refrained from gazing at God, Exodus 3:6. He was granted a vision of the divine similitude, Numbers 12:8. So, because Moses was humble, he was worthy to receive the Torah. See our selections of 1015, 1357 and 1377, Tanch Bereshit, section 1, folio 6b. The same Hebrew verb for behold is used here as in Exodus 3:6. The pre-existence of the Torah is very often merely tantamount to an expression that God himself is bound by his own laws. The world was made by law, not arbitrarily. Even miracles are within the law and not without. Thus, the cleaving of the Red Sea was foreordained. When the sea was created, God made conditions with the sea that it should split before Moses, and with the sun that it should pause at Joshua's bidding. Gen R, Bereshit 5:5, the page 35, HL's note. God, Israel, and the law form a sort of triad, linked together by the closest ties of affection. This idea is often to the fore, while the particularism may jar upon us. The tenderness and intimacy of the conception cannot be gainsaid, are the fact that it kept the rabbinic religion living and warm. The conception may be illustrated by the following: 455, Exodus R, Terumah 33, 1 and 6. Can there be a sale in which the seller sells himself along with the object he sells? God says, I sold you my Torah, and with it I, as it were, sold myself. The matter is like a king who had an only daughter, and another king sought her and got her in marriage. The father said, my daughter is an only child. I cannot be parted from her. And yet to say to you, do not take her away, is also not possible, for she is your wife. Do me therefore this kindness, whithersoever you go, prepare for me a chamber, that I may dwell with you, for I cannot forsake my daughter. So God says to Israel, I have given you my Torah, I cannot be separated from her. Yet I cannot say to you, do not take her. Therefore, in every place, whether you go, make me a house, wherein I may dwell. Words left out. When a man buys a desirable object in the market, does he usually buy also its owner? But God, when he gave the law to Israel, said, with the Torah you, as it were, take also me. The Midrash plays on Exodus 25:2. Bring for me an offering, i.e. take me in exchange for your offering. Exodus R, Terumah 33, 1 and 6. So we have the idea of setting up places of worship everywhere, not just one or two places in the world. Though, from one point of view, the rabbis specifically adored all the ceremonial enactments of the law, because they were so exclusively intended for Israel. Yet, as we may also see later on, they realized well enough that, from another point of view, the moral took precedence over the ceremonial. They spoke of heaviest commands and lightest commands, and distinguished between them. Here I may quote the famous and familiar passage in which the unity of the human race, the brotherhood of man, and the love of neighbor are called the greatest and most inclusive principles of the law. 456, Gen R, Bereshit 24:7, the page 236, 237. Ben Azai quoted the verse, this is the book of the generations of Adam, Genesis 5:1, and said, this is the greatest principle in the law. Our Akiba said, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, Leviticus 19:18, is the greatest principle in the law. Do not say, because I am despised, so may my neighbor be cursed with me. If you act thus, said R. Tanchuma, no, whom you despise, namely a being made in the image of God. The word for neighbor in our Akiba's comment is not the same as the word re'ah, see 1068, and the quotation from Leviticus 19:18. It is chaber, see RT, page 71, also Travelers, Hartford, Talmud, and Apocrypha, page 145, 149, Gen R, Bereshit 24:7, page 236, 237. Remember at the end of the introduction by Loewe, I append the portion with the abbreviations. 457, Sifra 89b. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, Leviticus 19:18. Our Akiba said, that is the greatest principle in the law. Ben Azai said, the sentence, this is the book of the generations of man, Genesis 5:1, is even greater than the other, Sifra 89b. 458, ABRN, verse 2. 26, folio 27A, ET, page 228, C, selection 539, if it's posted. It is related that as a donkey driver came to our Akiba and said to him, Rabbi, teach me the whole Torah at once, he replied, my son, Moses, our teacher, stayed on the mount 40 days and 40 nights before he learned it, and you want me to teach you the whole of it at once? Still, my son, this is the basic principle of the Torah. What is hateful to you, do not to your fellow man. If you wish that nobody should harm you in connection with what belongs to you, you must not harm him in that way. If you wish that nobody should take away from you what is yours, do not take away from another what is his. The man rejoined his companions, and they journeyed until they came to a field full of seed pods. His companions each took 2, but he took none. They continued their journey and came to a field of cabbages. They each took 2, but he took none. They asked him why he had not taken any. And then he replied, thus did our Akiba teach me, what is hateful to yourself, do not do to your fellow man. If you wish that nobody should take from you what is yours, do not take from another what is his. ABRN, verse 2, 26, folio 27A, ET, page 228, C, selection 539. Akiba's teaching was not new. Hillel had already taught, what is hateful to you, do not to your fellow creature. Sab 31a. Following the stories with Hillel's patience, Hillel again re-echoes Tobit, chapter 4, verse 15. See the variants and the critical notes in Charles's Apocrypha and Pseudo. I'm not sure what the full abbreviation is, but there is an excellent article by C. Brockbo King, The Negative Golden Rule, on page 268 of the Journal of Religion, 8, number 2, April 1928, and that's H.L.'s note.